What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your girl, Uta K. Best, and you are listening to Hella Random Radio, where positive energy lives. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, all the things. Today we have Mr. Michael Knight co-hosting as per the last several interviews, and our guest today is Mr. Elijah Smith of Shift Culture. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here. Before I will ask for a self intro here in a bit, but I've known you for a little bit and I don't know what Shift Culture is. Can you tell us a little bit about that first?
Okay. Well, Shift Culture is a mental health organization. It's an organization here to center around the Black community, Black and brown people, and we're looking to increase people's mental health awareness, as well as giving them strategies to be able to calibrate their mental health and bring it to a good function in a society.
Nice. And is that an organization that you started or that you were a part of starting?
No, I started it myself. I partner with different organizations such as Black Psychologists Association, Therapists of Colors who we're looking to partner with and affiliate with in the next coming months, as well as From the Heart Foundation. This team as of doctors and therapists, we're looking to try to create some good healing modalities for the community.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. Do you want to go ahead and maybe give us a short introduction of yourself and all the different things that you're interested in?
Okay.
Or at least a
few. So myself, I was born in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
I moved to various places. I lived in Georgia, Gwinnett County in Georgia-Macon. I lived in Arizona, California, and
Military?
in California. No, my mom is actually a travel nurse.
Oh, okay. Wow. How amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah.
She moved around a lot, and so I got to. I lived in Texas and Dallas. I moved around a lot, and I got to see a lot of places at a young age. And I had to switch schools a lot. But with that being said, in my childhood, I also was switching schools a lot. I also wanted people to know who I was, so I had to make a lot of friends. And with that came a lot of troubles, I guess you would say, in the classroom, because I was considered what you would call a class clown. You know, I wanted to make sure that everybody was in a good mood, everybody was happy, everybody was laughing, and everybody knew who I was. So that was me as a kid. As that time kept going, I started to become what people would consider a delinquent because of these behaviors. I would always act out, and you know, my mom was a single mom, and she as I said, she was a travel nurse, so she was gone 12 hours at least a day, needed at least 8 hours of sleep. So you know, it left a little bit of time for me. With that being said, so I took a lot of attention that I needed and took it straight to the classroom. So at a young age, the teachers and the principals were asking, you know, what can we do to get you to behave in class? And a lot of times they would prescribe things like ADHD. You know, I was labeled with that at a very young age, and so they were trying to get me on medicines to get me to act normal. And I did end up taking some medicines, and it did have some effects that were, you know, zombie-ish. I would get a lot of work done, but I didn't feel like I was me. You know, I felt like I was like dead on the inside. And so, you know, taking these things at a young age, I kind of had a chance to like see the difference between how a medicine made me act and how I was normally. And I've always been a person who's kind of self-aware of how I interact and how I feel. And so with that being said, I ventured out and I finally found one of my friends offered me what they call now is the magic mushroom. Okay. And I was 16 years old when I tried this.
Wow.
Really?
And I'll tell you, before taking that, I was a kid who was, like I said, was looking for attention in other places other than like the classroom, from friends, or to impress, or to, you know, have a thrill or have some type of adrenaline activity. And after taking the medicine, I became super self-aware and realizing that the trajectory that I was going on was leading towards a path of destruction, prison, possibly dead. You know, these were the things that were always told to me. If I continued down the path, this is where that would lead towards. So after digesting the mushroom for a couple of times, I started to realize I needed to calm down, and I didn't need to continue doing the same habits and continue the same attention-seeking behavior that I was doing. So I calmed down, and I didn't need the ADHD medicine anymore. I was able to
Wow.
I was able to come to
How
class.
long did you take it?
Like I said, since 16, I was taking, I would say, at least once or twice a month. It wasn't something I could get my hands on all the time, but it was just, you know, periodically. I would be
the ADHD medicine.
ADHD medicine. They put me on ADHD medicine when I was 13.
Oh wow.
And they tried to prescribe it all the way up to junior year until I was about 16. I stopped taking it. I was like, I want control of my body. I don't like feeling like a zombie. And so that kind of changed my awareness, and it changed my trajectory in the ways that I was heading towards.
And so had you stopped taking the ADHD medicine before your first time taking the psilocybin, or
it was after.
Okay. So you stopped the ADHD medicine and you took psilocybin, and you were like, oh, this is way better.
I just knew that I was in control, that I was the person who was able to control my decisions. I didn't need a pill to help me make smarter decisions. You know what I mean? I had this power of my own, and what I needed to do was think about my future and think about where I was heading towards and what decisions aligned to what future I wanted. And if I wanted to graduate school and graduate with my classmates, that meant sit my ass down and do my studies. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's where that kind of led me to.
Wow. And so, so you were 16. Where were you that first time? Like, what part of the country?
Okay, I was in Lexington, Kentucky, my first time. I'll tell you a story. I was driving my friend's car. He was 2 years older than me, and he had some wealthy parents, and they let him have his Mercedes.
Oh,
wow. I was driving the Mercedes around with, you know, a car full of girls that I thought were, that I was attracted to, and I just thought I was living my life. I was drinking, and I was doing my thing. You know what I mean? And I ended up getting in trouble and getting pulled over. And the police ended up pulling me out of the car and was like, he was like, what were you doing? You almost hit me. You know, you almost did this, this, and this. You know, I could take you to jail right now and ruin your whole life. And he ended up giving me a pass and being like, you know, just call your parents and have them come pick you up. At that time, my mom was living in Dallas, and I was living in Lexington. And so nobody was actually able to come pick me up.
Oh, wow.
I ended up having my aunt come pick me up, and I got in a lot of trouble, and I'm having to move to Dallas. Right before I moved to Dallas was when I tried the magic mushroom, and that was when I had my revelation and realizing that I was headed down the wrong path. I was indeed, going down the exact same path that they told me I was headed towards, which was jail or dead.
Wow. Wow. So you got in trouble, you tried the mushrooms, and you moved, and were able to essentially kind of start a new life, is how it sounds to me.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I moved from Lexington. I moved to Trinity High School in Dallas, and started playing basketball. I became super isolated, but that was something that was a catalyst to my growth, because now I had time to. What I think is the most powerful thing you can really do is self-reflect.
Yeah,
And I had
absolutely.
time to be like, okay, you know, what am I doing that's serving me and what am I doing that's not serving me?
Yeah.
And asking these questions at 16, 17 years old can be powerful for the rest of your life.
Ashe. Ashe, do you, and you don't have to answer anything that you don't want to answer, but do you mind if I ask how old you are now?
I'm 27 now.
Okay, so this you have been on about 11-year journey.
Mhm.
Awesome. So before we press record, you were telling us that you consider yourself a mushroom advocate. You know,
Yes.
can you go ahead and explain to us what that means to you?
Um, a person who sees good in something and wants to support it is the way that I would say advocacy would be with the fungus. Um, Mushrooms changed my life. Um, the psychoactive mushrooms with psilocybin changed my life at a young age. And with that change in my life, I was able to change a lot of people's around me.
Mm.
Um, I seen what it did for me, and I wanted to see if it did the same thing for others. So I would get groups of friends together, and I would get them together according to their signs. I know this is funny, but like I
Oh,
would get
that's
everybody
dope.
together.
Really? Wow.
Thank you. I would get everybody together according towards, you know, whether they were fire signs or earth signs or water signs. And I
Mm.
put people together, and I would get everybody to, you know, take a certain amount or whatever amount they feel comfortable with, and I would just see how everybody would interact. And one thing that I found, no matter what, was that whether people took it and cried, whether people took it and laughed, whether people took it and got real quiet, whether people took it and started contemplating, at the end of the day, everybody had the same result, which was peace.
Mm,
Post trip, they would all find peace. And so for me, that was evidence for me. And that every time I would see somebody find peace, that ignited the fire in me a little more to be like, okay, this is something I support. This is something I want to you know, express to the world at least, you know, and give
yeah.
people the information about, you know, what I was finding. I would also find people like Terrence McKenna, who is who I think is the Albert Einstein of this generation when it comes to psychoactives and understanding how to heal and become an interdimensional being. But as I've come to continue to grow my relationship with the mushroom, a couple of things that the mushroom does for you is it not only does it help with cognitive function, not only does it help with physical well-being, not only does it help with the spirit, being able to connect with the divine, but also it helps with the environment. It can fertilize soil. It can help with all the trees you see have a complete mycelial network underground to help
Right.
them connect with other trees. So
Yes.
it helps with plants. It helps with it. You also have mushrooms that are as strong as brick, so that means they can build houses. These mushrooms can also be ate to where they can feed the homeless. These mushrooms can also be so if it can shelter the homeless and feed the homeless, you know, we're looking at great benefits already. And then one of the biggest benefits that I feel like nobody speaks about is the fact that these mushrooms eat plastic. And so with that being said, these things can literally take care of the earth and all the mess that we've been taking, like the landfills. We can take care of that with mushrooms if we just learn to
Wow.
cultivate our relationship with them. So those that's the reason why I say that I'm a mushroom advocate. Um, just because it's helped me, many people around me, and it's continued to help the planet itself.
Just saying how great it is to hear someone else talk about this. I have quite a passion for it myself, and I have I'm quite an advocate on my own on the same thing. That though, in addition to what you were talking about, that one of the things that mushrooms do hold is helps with our carbon footprint, which is an amazing thing. Their ability to be able to break that down. There are fibers that are on the planet that we wouldn't even, like trees would have taken over the planet if it wasn't for mushrooms being able to break that down into essentially soil. One of the funny things that as a person who grows mushrooms also is to have a substance that's sitting inside of most things that we grow tend to leave some sort of residue that isn't very pleasant. But growing mushrooms, one of the things that come out of it is very fertile soil. It's as a person from the South, I smell dirt all the time at very fertile ground. And I've had some amazing sensations where I've opened up, like I've finished a flush out of it and it's pretty much done. And I break that up because one of the things I like to do is put my hands in it and have it smell like fresh soil, and be able to safely take that, what is considered compost or not a useless thing, and go put it in my neighbor's garden, and she appreciates that soil that I provide for her. It has high calcium levels and stuff like that, but essentially it is a product that becomes part of nature that can be recycled and benefit us all.
Wow, that's super amazing. Yeah, and I actually have heard probably only one other person, but I've definitely heard at least one person talk about the fact that it can be used to help rid or at least shift the planet from, you know, the more dangerous aspects of plastic or whatever. So that's dope. I saw that you had posted something to your stories this morning, Elijah, that says, ask me why I use psilocybin mushrooms instead of SSRIs. What is an SSRI?
So SSRIs are so your brain has these receptors that receive serotonin.
Okay.
And so SSRIs are essentially, they put a cap on your SSRIs and my bad, let me rewind. The receptors receive serotonin, and the serotonin is what is a hormone in your brain that allows you to essentially be happy and energetic and have life. And so a lot of times when people take SSRIs, which are a pharmaceutical drug that it essentially takes care of like depression.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That it takes care of depression, but it enables you from being able to feel anything. And so you're kind of just like, you know, it won't allow you to feel any of your emotions to a certain degree, you know. So you might be able to express a little bit of happiness or a little bit of sadness, but it won't let you go too far in any direction because of this cap that it has on the SSRIs. So you know, I choose psilocybin because psilocybin actually binds with serotonin receptors, and it allows you to have a burst of serotonin. And so that you'll have people who feel that they can take mushrooms and feel an immense amount of happiness or immense amount of euphoria or immense amount of different oxytocin or, you know, whatever it is. You're able to feel your body and feel your energy to a good degree, a natural good degree. Right. And then when you're done with it, your levels will balance out. So, you know, as somebody who is feeling a lot of depression, their levels will balance out a little bit more if they ingest psilocybin.
Yeah.
Post.
Yeah. So is the ADHD medicine similar to an SSRI, or do you know?
That is it doesn't actually affect with the SSRIs. I'm not for certain. Okay. So personally, then this is the reason why I center the organization around mental health, is because what helped is not necessarily the medicine, but what helped was me being able to take accountability. The medicine helped me take accountability. Once I took accountability, then at that point, I had to learn how to recenter my own energy. And one way that I started to learn how to do that was through meditation at age 18. Okay. And that is something that helped tremendously more than anything, was being able to still myself and just stay with my breath and just breathe and just be.
For sure. For sure.
That was probably the most influential thing, aside from psychedelics, was being able to just be. And that took that gave me discipline of my mind and of my ability to observe myself, and detach from the feelings, the urges that I had, whether that was an outburst or whether that was to, think about 4 or 5 different things at one time and try to do different projects. It gave me the ability to center and say, what is the most efficient thing I can do with my energy when I come out of meditation?
Fair enough. That is so dope. And I have a question for both of y'all, assuming that Michael has also taken the things that he grows.
Fair assumption.
But I often find myself saying that for every high, there's a low. And I judge that, even the last time that I took mushrooms, although I think that it could have been more the company I was keeping than necessarily the mushrooms. But I'm wondering if you would consider that true with mushrooms in your experience.
I'll jump in. As far as for me, I would say there isn't one for me. Primarily because when I'm consuming, I'm more intentional with my mindset. It takes the guy that introduced me to it was very clear about one very specific thing. He said your mental state when you get ready to get into it is the key to what kind of experience you'll have. In regards to if you're having things that you're struggling with, the psilocybin won't necessarily allow you to ignore it. It'll become a thing that is all encompassing doing that experience. And it really helps you. It won't let you hide from yourself. That's my experience. And the other thing that it does for me, very similar to what Elijah does, what I qualified as, and I talk to people about it quite often, is it allows you to examine yourself without the emotion. Because without the emotion, you can make more logical decisions, and your fears, your anger, all of those things kind of get set to the side, and it allows you to see your life in just a slightly different angle. And that is eye-opening in a way, at least from my experience, that allowed me to, I've been around a long time, and we've been all in all of our bodies, we've been in it the whole time, but we see it very specific way, and we can get really, locked into what we know as how life is based on our experiences in our past. What psilocybin allows you to do is just to slightly shift from that myopic view that you have, that the world has kind of reinforced, and give a slight variation to it. That for me was enough for me to explore more and to see more of my life in this slight shift of what I perceive. Anyway, Elijah, go ahead, man.
No, I like that. I fully resonate with everything that you just said. A couple of things that I would add on to it is, like you said, set and setting is everything. Your mindset and your setting, where you're actually, your environment is everything. I think that transfers to life in general. Your mindset and your environment is everything.
Everything.
So, with that being said, there's many different things that we want to examine, which is, not only where you're at in life, but what baggage are you carrying? Is your suitcase full? And when I say baggage, I mean a lot of people, there's a term called shadow work. And it's getting to know the darker sides of you. It's getting to know the things that you necessarily push down and into your subconscious, and you try not to think about it. You stay focused on the things that are prioritized, but you don't worry about the fact that you were beaten as a kid, or that you never got a hug from your parents, or that you push those down. So when you ingest psilocybin, these things will start to come up. Psilocybin will bring this to your forefront and be like, hey, look at that. How does that make you feel? Right. And a lot of times people claim this to be a bad trip. Me personally, I feel like the bad trips is where the most growth comes from. So it kind of depends on the person's intention. If the person's intention is not to go through no shadow work, they just want shits and giggles, this is going to be a bad trip for them, technically. And also the other part I would put into this is the strain. Just like marijuana, some strains are going to give you more of a sativa high, you know what I mean, where you're like laugh, giggly, this and that. or some strains like indica are going to give you more of a down effect where you're slumped in the chair, you just want to kick back, relax, don't want to really say too much. It kind of just depends on what strain you get. So the same thing with mushrooms is some strains give you more of a euphoria, of a more of a I'm just here to laugh. I'm here to connect. I'm here. I see visuals. You know what I mean? There's just different strains for different winds. But some strains, such as like penis envies, are usually used for more shadow work. They more or less bring more of a darker side compared towards like golden teachers, which give you much more of an upper effect. So there's a bunch of different things that go in hand to this, but I think that these conversations definitely need to be had because I don't believe that they're necessarily teaching these people who are psychedelic therapists what they're getting into. I don't. I spoke about this psychedelic science. That these people are purchasing their degrees. You know what I mean? They're purchasing them $10,000-$20,000, and they're not getting the full understanding of how to facilitate because they haven't done the work themselves. And I was at psychedelic science. And I heard a man call himself a shaman, and he had his degree for 3 months.
That's not a shaman. That's not a shaman.
First off, a shaman's never going to tell him.
And I don't want to talk trash, but I actually read somewhere that a shaman doesn't call themselves a shaman.
No,
exactly.
Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. No, but this is capitalism at effect. At its best. We purchase our degrees, we purchase our titles, and we don't earn them. You know what I mean? The person who works with these people should be initiated by the community because we trust this person because he's exhibited that he is a person of this caliber to be able to hold this title, not just somebody who's got 20,000 and I can trust. I got enough from daddy's trust fund that I can go ahead and get this degree and sit in this class and get my piece of paper. Now I can do work. That's it's a little scary to me, but what do I know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to shift a little bit because I just had a random thought pop in my head that's not written on like a list of questions or whatever. But yeah, it is hella random. Exactly. But I have another friend who grows mushrooms, and he talks about like a hero's dose, or, the way that he packages them, it would be 10 capsules, which is a lot, and he says it's something that is, a very challenging experience, kind of designed to force an ego death. Have either one of you heard of that?
Yes, I've heard of it. I haven't done it. I haven't, and I don't have an urge to have a hero's. I'm not interested in that as it stands right now. I lean more towards the medicine aspect of it, and its combination with definitely inner work that needs to happen, in addition to having some therapy that goes on with a professional. Because especially when you're doing, as Elijah said, the shadow work, it's going to bring up some stuff that you may not be able to handle on your own, and you might need some tools to be able to grow in that way. I've been fortunate enough to be able to have a lot of therapy.
Right.
And the key to therapy is that you have to be honest. And if you can't be honest with yourself and you're not aware of the things you do, your therapist really can't help you. He or she can only go so far.
Right.
What psilocybin allows you to do is to actually open yourself up to these areas that you've kind of had these I refer to it as the boogeyman. Like as a kid, we don't go in the closet and there was something that scared us in there. And now we've just closed the door. We won't even go in this closet at all.
Yeah.
And what psilocybin allows us to do is to open that door and at least start to look in there without the fear. So a heroic dose is it. I hear it has a lot of benefits, and to be able to separate yourself completely from yourself, it has its own benefits. But I haven't personally ventured into that realm at all, honestly. But
yeah, and just to clarify, he did say that it's something that you never do on your own. Like there was a time when I was thinking about doing it, and he was like, "Well, you let me know and you can come stay in my extra room and I'll make sure that there's nobody else around,
Yeah.
because it's got to be a very curated experience, and definitely not something that you do alone.
Absolutely. I'd agree.
Do you have anything that you'd like to add, Elijah?
No, I like, once again, what both of you all have said. I do think that if you are not experienced with psychedelics and you are not comfortable, and I would definitely advise doing it in a therapeutic setting, whether that's in nature with a guide trip, or with a trip guide, or with a trip sitter. I do agree with that. As for me personally, this is, like I said, been such a big part of my life. I used to love deep trips. That was my thing, was taking 7 grams, 10 grams, 14 grams, and sitting with the medicine and having nothing but a mirror and a gallon of water.
Wow.
This is where you do get some deep work done. The way I like to describe these things is like, it's all about how much truth you can endure and how much you can surrender. And both of those are huge. If you can surrender, you can probably endure a lot more truth. And if you can endure a lot of truth, you probably can let go. A lot of a lot of living is an illusion that you have control over something. And in reality, you don't have control over anything. You can have an aneurysm at any moment. And death is around the corner for anybody and everybody. All our time is limited. And so, going back to, being able to surrender, you just kind of allow yourself to let go. And letting go is what I think is very therapeutic. It's very, very therapeutic. And once you're done with a dose like that, you don't need to dose again for a while, because you need that integration period to be able to digest what information you have just now taken in. And it takes a while. So, microdosing, I like to say those are the people who like, small, spoonfuls worth of truth. And so therefore you can take a spoonful every day, you know what I mean? Every day, take a couple of days off, and get a couple more spoonfuls, and you can endure it. A lot of people can endure that truth. As with the, 7, 8, 10, 14, 28 grams, that's a 5-course meal. You know what I mean? That's food for the village. And so, you might need to take a 3 months worth of integration to be able to digest and integrate the new information that you've now received. And so, me personally, I think if a person is ready and a person is ready to do the work, by all means, try it out. And if you need a trip sitter, I'm always here. And I'm always here to help people make sure they feel comfortable and are ready to take that next step.
Yeah, Ashe, and I'm definitely close. I want a little more education. You said that you knew a little bit about signs, but my Mercury is in Pisces, and that's like a very challenging energy, because everybody, in my opinion, is their own worst critic.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like the Mercury in Pisces is definitely that to, the 10th power. But what it means to me is that when I finally come out to say something or share something, it's really good. All that just to say that I want to do a little more studying in a more, I guess, official capacity to a certain extent, but I definitely am on the path to holding space as well. Spirit has really, really, really been on me about, adding this element to what I offer, but I just want to make sure that it's done right. But anyway,
divine timing.
Yes, Ashe, all things. So earlier you mentioned being an interdimensional being. Can you tell me, what that means to you, and maybe what the difference between an interdimensional being and like just the average person?
Well, for one, I think the average person is an interdimensional being. I think that we just don't have a understanding of this. of who we are and a self-awareness. For one, we all vibrate on multiple consciousness all the time.
Right.
And this is, again, the reason why I wanted to start a mental health organization, because we have to understand how our bodies works first before we experiment with any other type of medicines. We have to first understand self. And so when I say that, we vibrate on multiple consciousness, I mean, when you meditate, when you just sit still and allow your brain to move into a theta, into a calm, serene type of vibration, that's a different vibration. When you get up and you go to the gym, that's a different vibration. When you go to the store and you digest sugar, that's a different vibration. That's your brain's on a different frequency. When you go to sleep, that is a different frequency. You're on a whole different vibration. You are interacting with different areas of life, of the universe.
Right.
And you can imagine with dreams, that's a whole different type of state of mind.
For sure.
And so, that is what I mean when I say interdimensional, meaning that I can digest the medicine and I can go to another space and consult with whatever deities or workers are there, and then bring back the information and now integrate. So let's say I have a mental block or a creative block, and I just can't seem to get past it. Maybe I can use a gram or two of mushrooms to sit in a meditative state and be able to say, before I go into my trip, I am looking for creative energy. I'm looking to tap into that state of mind. At that point, I can go into my meditation and access this creative energy and be able to live in this world for however long I'm in this state, and then bring it back and be able to now have creative energy within myself. This is what I mean when I say interdimensional.
So basically, everybody is interdimensional. Everybody is just not aware of it.
Correct.
Or maybe taking advantage of it.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to shift a little bit and ask, obviously you've already talked about meditation. What are some of your other favorite non-psychedelic mental health tools?
Well, I mean, there's an array of them. I would say meditation, yoga, as you know, is a major way to connect with the divine. Fasting is always a good way to get back to self. First off, in Tantra, I'm a Tantra practitioner as well. I went to school for authentic Tantra based out of Atlanta. And they teach us the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars is meditation, stillness, movement, exercise of any kind that allows you to connect with your body, Tai Chi, Qigong. And then we've got pleasure, healthy pleasures that allows you to feel good without the attachment of shame or guilt. And then also we have emotional connection. These 4 pillars are the way that you increase a person's well-being. And so with that, I feel like these things are things that are going to apply to mental health, all 4 pillars. Meditation, yoga, fasting, healthy connection, healthy pleasures. And one healing modality that I would like to see mainstream is EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This therapy is I think will be pivotal and change the trajectory in the way that people assess healing. I think that this is not mainstream because of the amount of money it doesn't take to do it. And big pharma loves to make money. So what I mean? I feel like I feel like this is one healing modality that hasn't been mainstream it all, and it needs more spotlight on it.
Yeah, yeah. I could argue with all of the new guided trips. It's really it's a very low cost also. What it takes to actually grow a fungi is very cheap, and most of it is.
Yeah, it is, and
trash.
as you know, in Oregon they got it to where it's $3,500 for a 4-gram trip.
Yep.
$3,500.
Seriously, it's insane.
That's
Who's regulating?
4 grams.
So the government is regulating that?
No,
Oregon.
In
No.
Oregon, like, how did that happen? Why is that a thing? That's exorbitant, right?
It's extortion. It's extortion. 4 grams of mushrooms maybe cost $30, $40, maybe.
Wow.
But $3,500. That's a major increase. First off, who has that to give for one session? Yep. And then 2, why? why am I paying so much? So in my mind, I feel like that you shouldn't capitalize off the sick. If anything, especially in a first world country, it should be almost free. We've got a major addressing to do with the system that we've been indoctrinated in.
Yeah, that is the title of this talk. You should not profit off the sick. That's
absolutely, that for sure, absolutely. So, quick question: in these therapy sessions, because I've actually been to some of the, like Denver has quite a bit of these type of events where these groups of psychedelic, quote unquote, self-proclaimed psychedelic professionals are helping with this area. Cost is definitely is prohibitive for most people, and I'm going to say a thing I will only say very few times. I, as a Black man, see psilocybin as a way for us to heal as a people, because it allows us to see past the trauma that we have had generationally over 400 years. Mm-hmm. And if we can tap into that and have access to that too, if for no other reason, for our people to see us so that we can see ourselves as our true selves, and not as a filtered representation based off of someone else who isn't us, and we're living in that life. If we can move into this meditative state with yoga, additional with some psilocybin, with this medicine to help facilitate that in a way that keeps you open and starts to open that door, and then use meditation and yoga and breath work and all these other things to help us walk through that pathway, that is a powerful thing for me. It's one of the things I actually I was involved with some interviews that was over at Denver, down in Denver at the college level, because they wanted to have that for people of color. They wanted to hear what it felt like for us. And so I participated in that and was rather honest about it. Sure. What are your thoughts about what I just said as far as people healing as opposed, because I know we've talked a lot about individual healing, individual work, and there's a lot of benefits to that, but as a people and as a group and a group collective thought, as a collective, and you talk and you add interdimensional to a collective, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a powerful and big responsibility, and I'm all for power and responsibility. You know what I mean? I'm all for taking accountability and figuring out how we can change our trajectory. As for healing as a collective, 2 things. One, I think that doing the things that we've always done since ancient times, and if you go back to Yoruba, where we Africa's mecca of the religion, is we did a lot of healing through requesting guidance through our ancestors, through storytelling, through dance. These things kind of gave us a chance to come together as a community and celebrate the fact that we're able to live. I also believe that coming together around good food is a sacred thing that we can do as a community. Having just more healthy community events is just one thing I think as a collective to do to that would allow us to begin that healing process. I also am looking at doing work with a master healer called Tommy Wound. His name is Tommy Wound.
How do you spell his last name?
Tommy Wound, Woon.
Okay.
So right now he's sick. He's battling cancer right now, but he's got healing modalities out for each race as a culture. And so he has one for white people. He has some for black people. He has some for Asians. He has some for all of these different races. And when you go through the program, it teaches you how to decolonize yourself and heal you and the next person. I'm interested. They're actually using me as one of the Black men to go through this program. So I'm interested to see exactly what his take is on it and how he plans to approach this. But that was just one of the big questions right now is how do you heal as a collective? And I think it's a race. It's a race by race thing.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I talk to a lot of DEI folks, and I'm just like, I'm not, the amount of money that you have to pay me to try to get a white person to recognize their unconscious patterns, is crazy. That's definitely something they need to get together on. So I agree with that. I'm actually going to be, and not that this is necessarily a medicine for everyone, but I will be offering a group recode at Brother Jeff's on Saturday night. Michaela Sanders is going to be playing sound bowls at 4:30. Then at 6, I will do some intention setting with folks, a little bit of education, and then I'll be offering a group recode, and I would love to hear, your take on that, because I definitely feel like, Spirit has been trying to push me to work with groups of people, but especially as like my 12-week course, I really enjoy dealing with people in on one-on-one basis. But these group events where the recode is just something that is meant to be done, it works as well for 1,000 people as it works for one.
Right.
So it's definitely something that, should be offered in group settings if you have the ability to do it. So I'm going to be doing that on Saturday, and I would love to hear your take on that. And I love that, because this is really the first time, like I said, I don't want to help white people with their racism, but this is the first time that I've heard it talked about in that way, that collectively our healing needs to be done with each other. And it kind of makes sense, because I did ayahuasca for the first time in April at the at Plant Magic Cafe.
Tell me more. Gosh.
Yeah, it was right before we met. You came to me shortly after that.
Facts, really? Wow. Yes. Look at that. Fantastic.
If you've done ayahuasca, the 7 grams of mushrooms is nothing in comparison to that.
Yeah, I was like the only one we did. It was a 2-day sit. I was the only one. I don't want to say the only one, but one of few, because I wasn't paying that close of attention. But I was one of few people who didn't throw up. It came up for me on the second day that a lot of that expulsion that people are doing is either fear or an inability to forgive, that they're having to get rid of. And I did, she did ask me to deal with some forgiveness for an aunt that I had a lot of issues with, but it was instantaneous. Like, I know that hurt people. As a matter of fact, her mother was killed at 33 by her father's mistress, so I get why she did the things that she did to me. But anyway, it was just really interesting. And so many people in that room, I was my first time experiencing it. And so many people told me that when they were sick, they would look at me and I would ground them.
Good.
You know, and so I definitely just like, I was like, I'm not going to do this again. Like it was fun. You know, it was a great high. And my big message was that, like someone said in the group the other day, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams come true. That was like what I got, you know, from that sit. But definitely for it to be my first time, I felt like I was out of my league or in the wrong space. Like, and so to hear someone actually give voice to the idea that perhaps we should be doing this collective work in our, you know, within our anthropological groups, I kind of have a hard time with the word race. But it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's really amazing. I'm resisting touching my phone, and I have.
You got to get ready to go.
No, not at all. I was getting ready to say. You mentioned the time, and I know in my head I want to be there on Saturday, and so I just want to make sure it was in my calendar. But I'm resisting.
Yeah. I'll put you. I'm pretty sure I put you in the event, but if not, I will put you in the event to make sure that you're there. Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, this has been a really epic conversation at this point. I don't know if Mike, you have any other questions or comments?
No, I would like to dig a little bit into Elijah as far as the professionals that you've kind of gathered together for Swift. I'm really interested in maybe it'd be super helpful, I think, for our people, is to have some informed. This is one of these informative moments where you're already pre-combining the thing that is in my head to have us combine, which is having professionals that are very similar. And because as a people, we can be very untrusting, and rightfully so. We got some reasons to feel that way, but to be able to tap into a coalition of people of color is pretty amazing. And if you have some information about that you'd like to share with us, I for one would love to hear it, and I'm sure anyone watching this would want to hear, if they've gotten to this part of this video. Yeah. They definitely want to hear some more about that, because I know we started with that at the beginning, and we've talked about a lot of different things, but from an informative and helpful way. I think it would be helpful if you could share either in here or later on with us. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, right now, currently, my goal is to create good programs to do within the youth. I think that's a good place to start, at least, is with the youth and education. Yeah. And find the ones who are ready to make a change. I feel like that's the pinnacle of the program right now. With that being said, I'm looking to create events. That's one thing I want to do, is create events, and also news. Being able to get people to hear good stories about mental health in the Black community, good and bad stories, getting a real authentic news feed. Because at the end of the day, I feel like we kind of get, you know, the bad side of everything, or we see the way that the mental health is in the music industry. We see, you know, what low vibes we're putting out, but we never get to hear any good vibes that we're putting out. So I feel like that's one thing, is being able to get good news feed about the mental health that's going on, as well as putting events together that allow the community to come together and discuss things as we've discussed today. And being able to have storytelling, to be able to have dancing, to be able to have art, to be able to have these things displayed in our communities and be able to come together around it, I think is one thing that's going to allow us to at least begin the question of how do we heal as a collective.
Yeah. And I think so it sounds like you're still in the formative phase with Shift. Is that fair?
Yeah, 1000%. I feel like I'm forever gonna be in that phase of just building it up. You know, continue to building up, building. That's my goal, is to continue to add growth to this. And yeah, so I definitely would say that. But we're looking to have a wellness and finance event in January 27th. Currently, we're looking at RealWorks, and we're looking to try to pack in at least between 1,500 to 1,800 people into the venue. So,
Wow.
and it'll be around mental and physical wellness, as well as business and finance for young entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you does Shift have a website?
Yeah, so it's shiftculture.org.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
And then on Instagram, you can find us at Shift the Culture with CO, and then there's periods in between each of the words.
Okay.
So shift.the.culture.co.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, awesome. And is there any last comments that you want to share with the audience?
At the end of the day, I wish everybody well in their journeys. And, you know, at the end of the day, don't worry about what somebody else is doing. Don't worry about what, you know, somebody's telling you to do. At the end of the day, life is all about the relationship with the self. And if you can learn to cultivate a good relationship with yourself, most likely you'll have a good relationship with others.
Ashe. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you if you've listened this far. Oh, of course. To the listeners, thank you for your time and attention. Again, please like, share, subscribe, comment, reach out if you or anyone you know you think should be a guest on the show. And yes, this has been Hello Random Radio, where positive energy lives. Thank you so much for your time and attention.